Hey everyone, Sarah here, back with another video. So today we're taking a break from the story structure series, and as you can see, my face is not on camera, which means we are doing another writing program video. So as you can see on the screen here, we've got the web page for a program called novelWriter. So this is another completely free writing program that does a lot of things similar to Scrivener, because as always, that's one thing we're sort of looking for when we're testing out these free sort of alternative writing programs, is how many features do they have that are sort of similar to Scrivener. Not necessarily exactly the same, but we want something that can at least do some or most of what Scrivener can also do. Okay, so first off, let's go through how to download. So as you can see, there are releases for all different platforms. You've got Linux, Windows, and Mac. I use Windows, so we will go to the downloads page here, and it'll give you the list here of the different operating systems. So we've got Windows, so we'll go here. Yep, there we go. Okay, so now we have it here on our desktop, the install file, and we will just install it. I actually did have this installed, but I uninstalled it, so I'll actually go through the proper installation and stuff, and you'll actually see basically exactly what you would see if you install the program. So let's install this. Yep, terms and conditions, I accept. And you can choose obviously where you want the program file to go. If you want a desktop shortcut, I usually will create one. And let's install. Okay, so it's installed. Next, obviously you can automatically launch it. Let's do that. And here we go. So obviously, as I said, I did have this installed, so I already have project files, novelWriter project files. But usually, obviously, if you don't, this will be blank. What we're going to do first is look at how to set up a new project. So we'll go here down to New. And so just like in sort of WriteWriter and stuff, when you are using the wizard to set up a new project, you can enter your project name here, your author name. Obviously, it says optional. You don't have to do that, just like with WriteWriter. Where you want to save and whatnot. And here, just like in WriteWriter, you can automatically preload blank chapters and scenes, because again, this program, thankfully, you can break chapters down into scenes. So let's add like 5 chapters, and we'll add like 3 scenes. You can do whatever numbers you want. Now this is an interesting feature actually that I quite like with novelWriter. You can add these default folders for plotting or for planning and organizing that aren't in the actual manuscript. So they'll be separated. So you can have plot notes, any brainstorming, that sort of stuff, character notes. So, you can make separate pages for character profiles, locations, and I would usually turn all of these on just so I can have blank in there by default. And then down here, add example notes to the above. So this will actually basically have a very, very brief skeleton already loaded into each of these. So I will usually turn this on. Just turn all of these on. And then we go down here to create. And there we go. So this is the interface. Now my interface is actually, if you go up here and we go down to preferences, you can change the appearance. I've got mine actually set to a default dark theme, but there are a bunch of different themes here. Default light. We'll change this back to default light, if you want. Ooh, that's bright. White. Down here, the document style, this is actually for where the writing is. And this appearance is for sort of the interface. So they are separated. So you can actually, for example, if we want this dark but this light, we can do that. So I like that, obviously, those are separated. Yes, so this is the interface. We'll just leave it as it is now. Here you have basically your menu or your project tree. That is this bit here, this tab. We've got a bunch of different tabs. We'll look at those one at a time. So first we've got our project tree where we have our manuscript automatically, and obviously we preloaded however many chapters, and then within those we have scenes. Now just single clicking on these won't actually open them. You need to double click. As you can see, this part here is that in the options when we were making the project where we wanted to load a little example, sort of fill in little examples, that's what this is. So we have our manuscript here, which we can minimize, maximize. And then down here are all those other folders that we created, that we chose, or that I chose to turn on. So we have our plot, where we have this page for our main plot. And again, we've got these little sort of tags and stuff. And then we have our characters, which it automatically just fills in a single one to protagonist. Obviously, you can edit all of that and change it and stuff. It gives us a single location by default. Okay, and next, let's look at this next one down here. Now, this one is called novel tree view. So this one only shows all of the chapters, scenes, whatever the pages that you create that are in the actual manuscript. So this one up here, sort of like the editor view, will show you all of these planning pages as well, but this one will only show you your manuscript. So if you're the sort of person who wants to write your manuscript but you don't want all of those planning bits there distracting you as you're typing, then you can just use this view. There is also a search function, which is always good in these sort of programs. Now this one is also interesting, novel outline view. If we go here, like in novelWriter, does novelWriter have this? I've already forgotten. Basically, it'll show you, again, the pages only from your manuscript. It'll tell you what they're called. It'll tell you how many words there are. And if you set certain tags like point of view and characters and stuff, it'll give you those bits of information here too. So for example, let's go back down to scene 1 here. And so let's have a look at what these are. So they don't have this in Scrivener, I'm pretty sure, and it's not in novelWriter or anything, but you can use basically these sort of tags to save information that will appear here. So let's go back and we go up to insert, and you've got all the usual things, dashes, quote marks, because that's right, this program uses Markdown. So, you have to use all of these symbols and stuff. But if we go down here to tags and references, so for example, we want to add a point of view tag. Just click on that, or you can type it in by hand, obviously. And let's make this protagonist. There we go. Now, if we go back over here, it'll show we've got a point of view set in this scene to the protagonist. So you can use all of these tags and references and whatnot to keep track of certain things in certain scenes, and they will show up here. You'll probably have to refresh with this button up here after you insert the information, but yeah. Okay, so next let's have a look at this bit down here. I know we've skipped this bit of the menu up here, but we will come back to that in a moment. Let's go down here first. So right down here, it'll give you basically the sort of diagnostics of the page you've got selected. So we've got scene 1.1 selected, which it tells us down here what its status class is and everything, how many characters, words, paragraphs it has. And obviously down here we've got what language and whatnot, how many words. And this is really good. It actually has a session timer. So it actually, will tell you how long you've been writing. What's interesting about this though is that if you sit idle for a certain number of seconds, it will pause. So in the settings down here, session timer, you can actually turn it on or off if you want the timer to pause or not. And you can set how long you need to be inactive before it will pause. So by default it's 5 minutes, but for example, if we wanted to change this to half a minute, it's paused because I haven't typed any characters into the word processor in more than 30 seconds. Okay, so next, just like with BLUESKY, we will take a look at some of the other features with a sample project. So just let me open that. Okay, so here we are, again with the same novel that I used as the sample project for BLUESKY for the time of his natural life. So as you can see, again, it's just set up into the manuscript and then all of the planning parts. But as you can see over here, the colors of these check mark sort of boxes are different. So if you come up here and you right click on any of the pages, you can set status to any number of things. And if you go to manage labels, it will take you to the settings where you can customize what each of these sort of labels are. So for example, we want this to be a draft. But as you can see, this one's green to say that it's finished. And you'll find, even though if you right click on the manuscript pages, it'll have a status option. If you go down to any of your plotting or planning pages, you'll notice that they don't actually have a status option, they have an importance option. For example, these are the characters, therefore you can set them to major, minor, main character. Again, locations, they've got the same. For example, let's say we wanted to add new chapters. All you have to do is right click, create new, and you can choose. You can do folders, notes, scenes, chapters, or a whole new document if you wanted. You could also obviously just use this plus button up here and it'll do the same thing. So let's go down here and have a look at these buttons, because I think we all know that this gear button is the settings and preferences and whatnot. So let's start here, novel details. This will tell you basically all of the sort of diagnostics of your project, your title, whatnot, how long you've spent on it, word counts, all of that. If we go down to contents, this one also is similar to in novelWriter or any other program. If you set a sort of goal, it'll tell you sort of what percentage is done. So it automatically fills in this end, even though there's no end chapter or whatever. There's the end, and that is at 100%, and it'll basically just break down any pages or chapters you've already created into a percentage up until this point. Okay, so next we'll look at this one, which is the writing statistics. So the one above that is sort of like the novel statistics. This one is literally like your writing sessions. So it'll tell you when you started, how long you spent doing nothing, which is sort of hard to look at, I'm sure, for some of us, but it's a good sort of piece of information to have. And then down here you can filter, obviously, so if you want to include the note files or not, hide negative word count, group entries by day, show idle time, like you can turn that on and it'll tell you the actual time in minutes, not in percentage and whatnot. And you can actually save these as data files, which is very helpful. Okay, next we're going to go up here to the prologue, which is already filled in, and I will show you what it actually looks like with writing in it. So this is something that I find really nice about this program, is that it automatically highlights dialogue in a separate color. So, a lot of people, will be worried about if they have enough dialogue, if they have too much dialogue, all of that sort of thing. So what's really good about this is that it automatically will highlight it for you so you can see very clearly, what percentage of your writing is dialogue. Like, look at this. All of this is just dialogue, all of this blue. But then if we go down here, this part is all exposition. There's almost no dialogue. Obviously, like for example, this isn't actually dialogue here. This is just, using the quotation marks. But because it detects quotation marks, it picks it up as that. but you know. Now if you go into the settings, the preferences, and we scroll down to text highlighting. So by default, it's only going to highlight double quotes, but you can also set it to highlight single quotes, both or none. So you can turn it off if you want. And you can also set, like if there are certain symbols you use that you don't want it to cause the highlighting to be broken, you can, you know, enter that here and set it up and stuff. Or for example, if you're using different symbols, for example, if I wanted to write it in Japanese, I wanted to type in Japanese, obviously in Japanese you don't use normal quotation marks. So for example, if I wanted to highlight speech in Japanese, I would need to fill in these symbols here. And then I can save this. And it will highlight it for me, even though they're not normal quotation marks. So you can set custom ones as well. So I definitely suggest going into these preferences and having a look, because it's actually pretty customizable. I do like how this has more customization options than YWriter. As I said before, this uses Markdown. So for example, if I wanted to bold a piece of text, obviously we have all of our options here. So we'll bold it. It's using, you know, the asterisks. But also it will actually color or highlight in certain colors all the different formatting options that we've done. So for example, let's go down here and we'll turn this into italics. There we go. So all formatting option is done in orange. And so the color of these quotes, the dialogue or the formatting depends on what sort of skin setting you're using. So for example, if we change this to down here, the colors have changed. So now this is sort of bluish turquoise and this is orange or yellow. I do just wish you could choose the color for highlighting yourself, but there doesn't seem to be an option for that, unfortunately. But you know, that's not too bad. Now personally, I'm not a fan of using Markdown, because usually when you use Markdown, for example in Manuscript, another free writing program, that uses Markdown as well, but it won't actually show the formatted text. It'll only obviously have the Markdown symbols to indicate it. But what I like about this is that even though it's using Markdown, it will actually show the text, for example, as bold or as italicized, or, you know, strike through without worrying about, you know, having to recognize these symbols at a glance. Because it can be hard to be like scrolling through, trying to pick up where you formatted things when you can't actually see the formatting itself. Yes, there are a lot of formatting options, which I do like. I like when they have nice formatting options. Okay, so last but not least, we will look at this menu here, which is the last one that I actually skipped earlier. So this is the build manuscript. So a lot of these programs will have the option to basically export the finished manuscript in some way. YWriter also has this. I don't think I showed it in my video on YWriter, but it does also have this option. Scrivener also obviously has that option to build a manuscript or format a manuscript for publishing or whatever. Yes, this program also has that. So let's have a look. All you have to do is press build manuscript and it will show it up here, and it will show the formatted text over here. Obviously it's not got any of the coloring or anything like that, but it does have obviously all of your formatting that you would have put in. For example, down here, it'll have your details. We can go down to outline, so it'll show us our chapters and our details. Obviously you can change the name of the build if you want up here with your little edit button. But yes, so we are previewing. Now if we go down here to build, we have all of these options for what sort of format we want to export it in, basically. So open document, on novelWriter, text document, HTML, JSON and all of that. Obviously, there's no like Word document or PDF or whatever, but if you do it in an open document, you can open it in LibreOffice. So for example, let's go here, open document. We'll just leave it in the default location, build, and we're done. That's it. It was very quick. Obviously, if you have a super long manuscript, it will take longer. Okay, so here it is, and let's open it up. And there you go. So we have our title page, and all of our text is also properly formatted. And you'll see that it automatically fills in a header with page numbers and whatnot. Now, obviously, this isn't the sort of formatting you'd want to actually use for a manuscript to self-publish. This isn't properly formatted for that purpose, but it is good enough. For example, if you had drafted your novel in novelWriter and you wanted to print it out for proofreading or editing or whatnot, then this is more than enough. Okay, but that's about it for a quick look at novelWriter and how to use it. It's pretty simple. I think it's probably easier to find your way around than YWriter. YWriter is very sort of unique in its layout and whatnot, and the way everything's sectioned. I think if you are looking for a program where everything's sort of in one place, it's a lot easier to navigate and it's more aesthetically pleasing. I definitely think people who like to have programs sort of the appearance and the skin and whatnot aesthetically pleasing will prefer this, because obviously it just looks nicer. It feels nicer, if that makes sense. And I personally really love the way that it will highlight certain parts of text for you. I think that's a really fantastic feature, and personally I wish YWriter had that. I love that it's got all of the same sort of basic tools, spell checkers, you can add dictionaries and whatnot. I love that it has these writing statistics and your manuscript statistics. You can use tags and whatnot. I do like how you can tag things by, you can add tags and references and whatnot, special comments like synopsis and stuff. It's a very good program, I think, for drafting and for people who need to keep track of like little bits of information all over the place. Personally, I still prefer YWriter. I don't know why, even though I do personally love aesthetic programs. Like, I love the look of this program versus YWriter. But at the same time, I know that I will get distracted and I don't want that sort of false sense of satisfaction from just enjoying this sort of aesthetics of a writing program. I feel like I personally benefit more from the absolute bare bones minimalist style of YWriter versus this. But there are some features that this has that I wish YWriter had. Specifically, that highlighting the text. God, I love this feature. I really do wish it was possible in YWriter. I'm almost 100% sure it isn't. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope that this helped. I think that this is a great option for people who don't want to pay so much money for Scrivener. I think this works just as well, if not better in some ways. And it's free, There's amazing free programs out there for writing and for art and all of those sort of things. So anyone who's interested, I highly suggest checking it out. I will leave a link to the webpage in the description box. But that is it for now. If you have any other writing programs you think I should check out, please leave a comment in the comments section below. I do read all the comments. And so I will see you all in the next video. Like and subscribe, turn on notifications if you want to know exactly when the next video goes out. I try, and I'm mostly succeeding in putting out one video a week. Look forward to the next video. I'll see you all then. Keep those fingers on the keyboard, and I'll see you next time. Bye.